Lila had learned the world through windows. From her wheelchair, she spent hours staring through the tall glass doors of her father's mansion, watching sunlight spill across marble paths and trimmed hedges. Birds landed where she could never go. Children of visiting guests ran freely, their laughter floating inside like something forbidden. She smiled when she was supposed to, but inside, her chest felt hollow. She had never walked, not once, not even a single step to remember. Doctors had been part of her life for as long as she could recall. White coats, gentle voices, complicated words meant to soften the truth. Spinal trauma at birth, limited neural response, permanent condition. Each specialist offered new machines, new scans, new expenses, none offered hope. Her father, a man who built empires from nothing, signed every check without hesitation. Money had solved every problem in his life. Except this one. The mansion grew quieter as hope faded. Hallways once filled with urgency became heavy with silence. Lila noticed how servants avoided meeting her eyes. Pity made her uncomfortable. It made her feel smaller than the wheelchair already did. At night, when the house slept, Lila imagined walking. She pictured her feet pressing into cool grass, imagined the shock of pain just to feel something different. But morning always came, and with it the same stillness. Eventually, she stopped imagining altogether. Hope hurt too much. That was the day the old nanny left. A week passed before another arrived. Eva entered without announcement, without the stiffness of the doctors or the nervous politeness of the staff. She knelt to Lila's eye level instead of standing over her. Her voice was calm, unhurried. "Hi, Lila," she said, as if they were equals. No sympathy, no rehearsed kindness. Lila didn't respond. She wasn't rude, she was tired. But Eva didn't push. She simply sat beside her, looking out the same window. After a long silence, she said softly, "The garden looks lonely today." Lila blinked. No one had ever said that before. For the first time in a long while, Lila felt something stir inside her, not hope exactly, but curiosity. And though she didn't know it yet, that quiet moment marked the beginning of everything changing. Eva didn't behave like the others. She didn't arrive with charts, schedules, or whispered instructions from doctors. Instead, she watched, closely, patiently. Lila noticed it first. The way Eva paid attention not just to what Lila said, but to what her body did when she wasn't trying. When Lila laughed at something on television, her toes curled inward. When she grew frustrated, her legs stiffened slightly, as if resisting an invisible force. One afternoon, as sunlight pooled across the floor, Eva knelt beside the wheelchair and gently touched Lila's foot. "Can you feel this?" she asked. Lila nodded, surprised by the question. Most people assumed she felt nothing. Eva didn't smile or celebrate. She only nodded, as if she had confirmed something she already suspected. "Good," she said quietly. From that day on, their routines changed, subtly at first. Eva introduced tiny movements while helping Lila dress or brush her hair. A slight lift of the knee. A slow stretch of the ankle. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that looked like therapy. If anyone asked, Eva called it comfort. The doctors noticed within days. "This is dangerous," one of them warned during a formal visit. "You're creating false hope. Her condition is stable, not improving." Lila's father listened, jaw tight, eyes heavy with exhaustion. He had heard this speech before. He nodded and agreed, because agreeing was easier than fighting disappointment again. But Eva didn't argue. She never did. She simply waited until the house grew quiet and the doctors were gone. Then she returned to Lila's room, sat beside her, and spoke softly. "Your body remembers more than they think," she said. "We're not forcing it, we're listening to it." Some nights, Lila cried in frustration when her legs refused to cooperate. Eva stayed through it all, wiping tears, never rushing. "Strength isn't loud," she whispered. "It grows when no one is watching." Slowly, something shifted, not in Lila's legs, but in her mind. For the first time, she wasn't being treated like a fragile thing to be preserved. She was being treated like someone capable of effort. And though the world still believed nothing was changing, Lila felt it deep inside her bones. Something was waking up. The night it happened, the mansion was unusually quiet. Rain tapped against the tall windows, and the staff had already retired to their quarters. Lila sat in her wheelchair near the bed, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She felt restless, her chest buzzing with a nervous energy she couldn't explain. Eva moved calmly around the room, closing the curtains, lowering her voice. "Do you trust me?" Eva asked. Lila hesitated. No one had ever asked her that before, not like this. She nodded slowly. Eva crouched in front of the wheelchair and, without ceremony, locked the brakes. The sound was sharp, final. Lila's heart skipped. Eva removed the footrests and placed Lila's feet flat on the floor. Cold, solid, real. "Eva, I can't," Lila whispered, panic creeping into her throat. "I know," Eva replied gently. "That's why I'm here." She took Lila's hands, firm but warm. Then, slowly, carefully, Eva leaned back and said the words that had never been spoken out loud. "Stand." Lila's body reacted before her mind did. Her legs shook violently, muscles screaming in protest. Fear surged through her. The room seemed to tilt. She gasped, ready to collapse. And then she didn't. Her knees trembled, but they didn't buckle. Her feet pressed into the floor, sending a shock through her spine. Pain flared, sharp and undeniable, but beneath it was something else. Strength. Weak and fragile, but real. "Eva," her father's voice thundered from the doorway. He froze mid-step. Lila was standing. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The rain outside seemed to stop. Lila's breath came in broken sobs as tears streamed down her face. I'm up," she whispered, almost afraid to believe it. Eva didn't smile. She didn't cheer. She simply held on. "That's enough," she said softly, easing Lila back into the chair before her legs gave out. The silence that followed was deafening. Her father crossed the room slowly, his powerful hands shaking as he knelt in front of his daughter. "Did it hurt?" he asked, voice breaking. "Yes," Lila said through tears. Then she smiled. "But it was worth it." In that forbidden moment, everything the world said was impossible cracked wide open. What happened that night could not be undone. The next morning, doctors flooded the mansion, voices sharp with disbelief and controlled anger. Scans were repeated, tests were run twice, then again. No one could explain how a girl who had never stood had done so, even briefly. Some called it a reflex. Others called it coincidence. Eva said nothing. She stood quietly beside Lila, her presence steady, unshaken. Recovery did not arrive like a miracle. It arrived like work. Lila's legs ached constantly, muscles waking after years of silence. Some days she managed only seconds of standing. Other days she collapsed into tears before even trying. But Eva never measured success in steps. She measured it in effort. "Your body is learning its own language again," she reminded Lila. "Be patient with it." Her father watched everything from the doorway. Guilt weighed heavily on him. Guilt for accepting limits too easily, for believing money could replace belief. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless in the best way. All he could do now was support, not control. Weeks passed, then months. One afternoon, with parallel bars and trembling legs, Lila took a step. Just one. The room erupted. Doctors shouting, her father breaking down in tears. Lila laughed through the pain, breathless, unstoppable. From that day on, progress became inevitable. Crutches replaced the wheelchair. Then a cane. Then nothing at all. When Lila finally walked alone through the garden she once only watched, the sun felt warmer than she remembered. Every step was imperfect. Every step was hers. Her father offered Eva everything: money, a permanent position, a future secured forever. Eva declined gently. "She doesn't need me anymore," she said. "She needs her own strength now." As Eva packed to leave, Lila hugged her tightly. "You didn't fix me," she whispered. Eva smiled. "No," she replied. "You fixed yourself. I just refused to stop asking you to try." Long after Eva was gone, the wheelchair remained in the corner of the room, unused, silent. Not as a reminder of weakness, but as proof of how far belief can carry someone when it finally learns to stand.